Hello, this is Dongchan Lee, the courageous South Korean innovator of learning language, super fast speed language speaking, learning speaking, and mathematics. Yeah, two pillars of modern education, let's say. So, if you haven't watched the video, please check it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to understand what I'm saying. So, last few video, I focus primarily on the Western developed OECD level, Western countries, and US, Australia, Canada, the Western Europe, this country, and partially Eastern Europe. Now I'm going to focus more on the country where the math poverty is 50, 70, 80, 90%, yeah, the majority of the world. So basically, once your government can show the indications, enough indication to sufficient commit to collaborate with me to end basically, I'm trying to create a global movement, yeah. So because simply national data, global data of the past 10, 20, 25 years, success rate of the developed country is close to zero. And the developing country, there was a certain progress, especially over 3 countries, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, and Peru, made the most significant. But if you're talking about the math poverty reduction, you'll be embarrassed. Over the past 10 to 20 years, math poverty reduction is not even close to what I'm trying to offering you. So let's focus on first group about the country where math poverty is about 50, 60, 70% ranges. Countries like richest countries like Qatar, UAE, these countries, or perhaps the richest Latin American country like Chile, Uruguay, partially Costa Rica, partially Mexico, these countries. Or if you talk about Brunei or Malaysia, and this country like 50, 60% of math poverty. And let's say my first target is to reduce math poverty. Let's say let's pick 60% to 30%, somewhere 30% cutting off. That's helping. And if you are like 50%, helping to like 25%, something like that. Normally, to make it happen, you have to wait at least many decades, usually 50, 100 years. And even for the fastest one, you didn't even reduce it over the past 10, 20 years, or 20% math poverty percent point reduction. So I'm trying to get it there over the next 3, 7 years. Small country, perhaps 3, 5 years. Bigger country, perhaps 4 to 7 years, something like that. Bulk figure. Again, depending on your level of commitment. As I illustrated clearly, and I shared all the critical data on my website, without my intervention, there is no way, absolute 0% of chance you can get it there, not even close. So one of the key part is, let's say, 50% of math poverty, over 25% of math poverty, economically speaking, conservatively speaking, this is roughly equivalent to national real GDP per capita rising about three times richer. So basically what I'm saying is countries like Mexico average to the EU average rising, income per capita raising, this is basically this strongly correlated with this kind of a math poverty potential of your country. So you got the figure. And then the whole point, as I said before, artificial intelligence, and the next target after the richest country is the second tier. This country, if you are rich like MENA, the Persian Gulf, or richest country, this is coming simultaneously like Western Europe and United States as well, because you are rich enough, automation come basically equal time. And if you want the current rate of the math poverty national 50, 60, 70%, good luck. You are going to reduce over the next 5, 10 years 10%? I don't think so. Chances close to 0. And so you don't have choice. You have to seriously consider this kind of option. And the next group, where the math poverty is 70, 80, 90%, country like, let's say, Guatemala, El Salvador, basically Dominican Republic, about 90% population in math poverty, more or less. Indonesia, more or less 80%. So for this country, I'm going to helping it from the, let's say 80% to 40%. This is the economic impact will be like roughly real GDP per capita rising of roughly 4 to 5 times increase, literally let's say 400% increasing in the relatively short year time frame. So this kind of thing, again, sounds totally crazy, but you have almost no choice, and we have to really deal with this. And it will be hard to believe, but again, I'm not have time and space to explain all the details to all this country. I'm just the big picture. And the long picture, my picture is I'm really preparing for the post-AI destruction of a modern society. The first one goes is job destruction, meaning economic collapse. So let's say if we're going to wipe out the first conservative one, 30% of job destruction in the Western developed country, that means that 30% of not skillable, reskillable, 30% job destruction because 30% fail to reskillable, they cannot be on par with the replacing rate of the artificial intelligence of wiping out your job. So for that part, if you are going to 30% job described, economic collapse, guarantee you. The worst time of 3 to 6 months in the European country and some of the worst country hit the pandemic, unemployment rate was maximum for like only several months with 30, 40%, 50%. Not even 1 year, just like 36 months. And you know the economic consequence during that time, yeah? Imagine it for the 3, 5, 10 years, 30% of the unemployment rate, that's the end of the story. We are talking about the universal basic income, UBI. For that I have a plan, because all the participant country, all the surplus economy via the MMU and the MMU 0.x series and the MMU certificate, and next one is the MMU UBI. MMU UBI basically is going to be quickly economic, at least let's say the MMU 0.37 basically is equivalent to real GDP capita, doubling your annual GDP economy over the next 30, 40, 50 years, depending on the development level. So for this thing, even first 5, 10 years, 15 years is going to have a massive economic impact surplus. For this one, you can take care of cost for the pension partially and all the cost for the immigration crisis, right? And the immigration crisis. So for this part, to make it happen, total innovation, crazy like what I'm offering, MMU series, is absolutely necessary. And the basic point for the developing country, less developed country, you have another 10, 20, 30 years to buy. So basically my plan is the richer Western European 20, 30 richest country, as I said before, for this kind of thing, they quickly surplus 30, 50% over the next 10, 20 years. And this is going to, at least you have a saving time, period of grace to prepare for the next arrival of the more menacing part of the artificial intelligence and socio-economic destabilization. And on the other hand, if you want to talk about the mid-tier country, when there's like 60, 70% of math poverty, 80%, cut it half to, let's say, 30, 40% of population, and you have to convince me that you are not betraying and everything in term. And then if you're going to reach to 40%, and the next phase, after first 37 years, next 37 years, and cut it down to mass poverty level of from 30, 40% to, let's say, 20, 30%, something like that. Over the next, basically, total 7 to 15 years, instead of basically 100 years or more, 200 years, without my intervention, traditionally speaking, historically speaking, you have to waste that time. Basically, what I'm offering is transition time 5, 10, 20 times faster than historically possible. It sounds crazy, but what can I say? Perhaps I'm a bit crazy, but please take it considered as a really seriously alternative. Otherwise, we are all waiting for the doomsday scenario. No? And how about I'm going to give a quick. Let's say the math poverty 75%, cut it up to the 50%, then 25%. 75% to the 25% net poverty reduction, that's roughly equivalent of the real GDP capita difference of 8 to 10 times richer, let's say 9 times. Each one of them 3 times richer. 9 times difference in the World Bank economic development level is basically roughly equivalent to the low-income country, like low-income country is meaning lower half of the sub-Saharan African country, the poorest 15, 20 countries, something like that. That's a low-income country. From that, high-income country. High-income country is recent entrance, recent several years, country like Costa Rica, Uruguay. Still, the Mexico and China is not even high-income country. And this high-income country, low-income country, the high-income country, difference is about the real GDP capita, GNI, per capita, roughly about 9 times richer. So as I said before, if you reduce the math poverty 75% to 25%, economic impact is historical. Real GDP, I'm talking about real GDP, not bullshit nominal GDP per capita. I'm not talking about the after inflation. Literally, real value, your feeling of the money, 9 times richer. Normally, to get there, to change the average country in the world, you will need 100, 150, 200 years, not 50 years. 50 years, you can get that only if you are South Korea, Taiwan, the Northeast 5 countries, because they have the, again, math poverty is 10% range. It was possible because they got rid of math poverty very fast, and the national average way ahead of the rest of the world, and they could rise more than even 10 times. But what I'm pointing is this one is once you get independent, at least the fundamental part of math poverty, let me get rid of it. And the rest of them, the MMU certificate, the MMU and the MMU UBI, Universal Basic Income, basically get rid of the key issues of the biggest headache of your society, socio-economically, Ministries of all the 7 key ones, your president, basically the vast majority of the worst headache, I can get rid of it. At least the learning part of it, key part, and the implementation guidance part, I can take care of it. Sounds crazy. Yeah, I know. Sounds arrogant. I hope not. But this is simply my humble offering. I'm very sure this is going to work because I have my personal track record. That's what I'm saying. Let's just start with a pilot study. You don't have to dump in the $1 billion or millions of dollars for the pilot study. And let's see. First a few thousand student pilot study from 1 to 2 months, and then we can go from there. And if it sounds very promising, we can scale and change the future destiny of your country and your entire region or economic group. Otherwise, you're going to collapse. And so thank you very much for listening, and welcome to contact me through my email and my social media, etc. I'm not active in social media, but yeah, I try to communicate and try to contact me as soon as possible because I'll explain the last video of today. I'm going to explain my pilot study and what kind of thing I'm expecting. Thank you very much and see you soon.